Hello, Tom.
Hey Brett, what's happening, man? I miss seeing you on the
Yeah,
workouts in the morning, but good to be with you today for our podcast.
absolutely.
This is the Therapy Unzipped podcast. We had some problem solving that we needed to attend to this morning, but I think we've figured it out, and I think we're actually going to have a solid show.
Adapt and persevere, Tom. Adapt
Yeah,
and persevere.
that's what it's all about. So, if you guys had listened to our previous podcast, we were talking about that very thing. And today we have a great show. We're going to be talking about dealing with family challenges, family discord, anxiety that comes with just family dynamics. So, maybe we'll get into some family systems, but we're going to talk because I think a lot of you guys can relate to that when there are challenges in your family. You have to see these people on a regular basis, and it brings up anxiety. When in fact, home is supposed to be your sanctuary, your safe place to go. But then you go home and you're faced with a whole host of problems and challenges related to parents, siblings, grandparents, whoever is at home.
Yes, family. What is it? The people that the hand you were dealt.
Yeah.
We always we have a friend and we always say the family. This is the family we choose, not the family we were dealt.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, we don't have a say in the matter when, we are young and we're being raised and all the things, potential traumas and challenges and just the growing pains. But then as we get older and we start to develop our own families, we do have a little bit more of a choice in who we are around and who we choose to have in our home. And sometimes I see it where people regret the choices that they have made, and they have a hard time unmaking that choice.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Families pose a special kind of stress and anxiety in our lives because, they're most of the time they're there for our best interests, and, they're doing the best they can to help and support in the best way they know how. And, we develop these patterns with our family, right? Particularly just like in marital or couples relationships, we develop these bad habits, and it seems like we have the same fights over and over and over again. Like we said, it's real easy. We're hardwired, our brains are hardwired to learn new things, but not to unlearn old bad habits.
Yeah. In the family themselves, talking about habits, there's also this concept of the roles in which we play within the family dynamics. There are the we have the oldest golden child, we have the middle child, and then the young child who gets all the attention. The middle child gets left behind. There's a scapegoat. There's the kid that engages in fantasy. Um, one parent might be more demonstrative and more expressive of like emotions and whatnot. The other parent might be a little bit more reserved. Now, one parent might be the strict disciplinarian, and the other might be the compassionate. Sometimes, yeah, kids can split, the parents. And then generational patterns of behavior and ways of doing things. How many times have you, as you've gotten older, um, said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what my dad used to do."
Well, that's the biggest insult, is it? When someone says, "Man, you're you're acting just like your father." Ah!
Yep.
That's true.
I mean, our families, that's our first like social environment. So we're social creatures. We're studying what everybody around us is doing. And in order to be part of that, we have to adopt those behaviors and ways of thinking. And they stick around, even if it's unconscious. And you find yourself later, 40s, 50s, starting to do those things that your parents did because you observe them when they were in their 40s and 50s, you know?
I mean, that's how we learn, is by observing others. That's how we learn many things. We trial and error and watching, observing others. And the people that you observe the most is your family. So it is so funny. You talk with people and you have that question is what did you think was totally normal until you experienced the real world?
Yeah. Hey, like,
There was,
other people don't do that?
right. It's like, what's going on here? Or even food choices or behaviors or some of those. I did see like on TikTok, Reddit, like a Reddit feed,
Yeah.
it was the same question. What did you think was normal until, you left the family unit? And some
Yeah.
interesting things.
That's a good read. I looked that up and there's some wild stuff in there. It's so fascinating just getting to know people and learning about how their families were and how they developed and the things that they decided they were going to abandon. And I'm not going to do that. And they still find themselves doing those things because it's comfortable. It's like programmed into their mind.
Yeah.
So what
Unfortunately.
happens when you have a degree of anxiety related to some family challenges, like the family, like the parents are arguing nonstop and they can't seem to get along and make decisions jointly, and it seems like they're just at odds. You know, you can see the children having anxiety regarding that because they don't feel safe. They don't feel a sense of security at home. So how do we help the young people navigate that?
All right. Well, we talk about that locus of control, right? So in order for us to feel, it starts with us feeling safe and comfortable, and then we can go out to that next level, which is our immediate family, and then the next level is our extended family and and then the next level is our community. So it all goes back to, where is your locus of control? What can you control? What you cannot control?
Yeah. Well, I had a young gentleman who reached out to me late last night. I saw the text this morning, and he is trying to help a friend who is struggling with some family discord. So it's some situational anxiety. I don't know if this is ongoing family challenges or if there's been some sort of trauma or some recent event that has taken place where the young person is finding it hard to kind of navigate their own anxiety. And so I wanted to try to offer some support to him to help his friend, and then also anybody else who is experiencing this, in particular, some anxiety related to family challenges. So we can talk about that for the show. You know, how to reduce our anxiety related to
Mhm.
that.
Well, a common belief is depression is worrying about the past and anxiety is worrying about the future, right? So we can't control the future, right? We can try to influence it, but we can't control it. What's going to be is going to be. And, we've talked about, my mother had the best saying, if you worry about the worst case scenario and in the unlikely event it actually comes true, you've lived it twice. Don't live
Yeah,
it twice, you
yeah,
know? So we talk with lots of people every day that have anxiety, and it's, I don't know how this relationship's going to go. I don't know how work's going to go. And what happens if I lose my job? And, all of these potential catastrophes that could happen in the future. Well, the future is not promised and
right.
all can happen. You just do the best. If you're spending all your mental and emotional energy worrying about what could happen, you're missing the opportunity just to use that energy to influence what could happen.
Yeah,
Instead of about it, what do if you're worried about work, then put some more energy into how you're doing your work.
yeah,
If you're about your relationship, put some more energy into connecting with that person.
yeah,
About family discord, well, then spend some energy worrying about or thinking about how can I help mend this, or how can I reduce worrying is not going to do anything.
yeah. Well, I think you tapped into something when we're talking about just levels of comfort. And I would imagine this young person has a sense of comfort, maybe a little bit of security at home. But since that has changed, the fears could be potentially, oh no, my family is going to split up and my parents are going to get divorced and they're going to have separate lives and separate families. And I'm going to have step parents. And, they go down the slippery slope of, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to lose the relationship I have with mom or dad? Is it going to be different? And then they start to have a reaction or a response to these perceived potentials that haven't happened yet. And that's creating just a whole host of whole host of things. I say that 8 times fast of uncomfortable feelings. And I think it's important when you say, hey, you know what? Let's get back to you being in the present moment and dealing with what you need to deal with right now. And don't worry about what's potentially going to happen, because probably none of that is going to happen. And if it does, you can deal with that then. And, this is part of life, having to overcome adversity, deal with challenges. And why rob yourself of suffering now instead of just, hey, deal with whatever you need to deal with when it does happen. And let's focus on the present moment. What do you have to deal with right now? It's summertime. You maybe have to do some summer reading for school or some math homework. But for the most part, this is your time to just relax, to just be, at the beach or play video games or talk with friends until 2 in the morning. Like this is your time. Enjoy it, because once school starts back up, you're going to have the addition of all the school stress.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, for sure. And like you said, is what do I need to focus on today? And we need to get future focused and think about the future. But when people can't control that, or if they're just constantly worrying about the future, I say something like set up an hour every afternoon or wherever in the morning, whenever you want to do it. And that's when you get to think about all that worry and all that future stuff. But the rest of the day, that's your worry time. You got a worry hour. The rest of the day, it's all future. It's all present focus. What am I doing right now? What do I
yeah,
need to do today to make tomorrow the best it can be?
that could be comfortable. All right. Every day at 6 p.m., that's when I'm going to set aside time for me to worry about those things. If you feel like you're doing something about it, because we know you're really not doing anything about it, you're just thinking about it and worrying. But if you feel like you need to have that time and space because it's been helpful in the past, or because it just, is something you need to carve out time to do because you're going to be worrying about it all day, if you can save it up until 6 p.m. in the evening or whatever time, then do that. I think that's a harm reduction technique. I'm going to be thinking about it anyway, so let's just have it set up as a routine that I worry and go through that for an hour, only an hour at 6 p.m. And you know what? After a while, you're going to get tired of even doing that. And you're going to say, you know what? I'm not even going to, I got better shit to do.
Right. For
You know?
sure. And then when those thoughts come in at noon, just say, nope, this is a 6 o'clock thought.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you know what? I don't know how old this person is. I would imagine 14, 15 years old. Let's just say the person's 14, 15 years old. At 14, 15, you have a little bit of influence over your family. I mean, you could open up some dialogue about the things that are going on. Share what's going on for you. Share that, hey, I have this tremendous unease and anxiety related to what's going on in the family. Can we sit down and talk about it? Can we put the devices away? Can we turn the TV off? Can we have regular meals where we like talk together as a family and share our concerns, validate each other, problem solve together? That could be a healthy thing for a family to engage in. And if you're 14 or 15 years old, you can have some influence over the family and say, let's open up dialogue about these things and let's talk about these things, because maybe you could eradicate a lot of the challenges just by doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, when you're younger, you start to, we always say that, these younger teenagers, whatever, are goofy, but and
Yeah.
they're they're changing, ever changing. And it's like, you know what? They're trying on different hats. They're trying to figure out who they're going to be. They're trying to figure out what their place in the world and what kind of personality I want to be. So let them do it, And this is your chance to, hey, try to pull the family together. Hey, I mean, I always love the quote, the parents have been a parent just as long as the kids have been a kid, right?
Yeah.
There's no instruction manual with being a parent.
Yeah.
There's no like knowledge that they impart on you on how to raise kids. So all these parents are just trying to figure it out and do the best they can, and the only experience they've had is how they were raised. And some of that's good and some of that's not so good, but they're doing
Yeah.
the best they can. Cut your parents a break, right? Let them know what it is they're doing that's helpful for you, and let them know what it is they're doing that's not helpful for you.
Yeah. I mean, if you share as a 15-year-old, I mean, or this could be anybody in the family situation, but 15-year-old says, I want to have kind of a family meeting, or at least let's sit down and kind of talk. And the kid shares, hey, you know what? I'm feeling like there's a lot of expectations and a lot of stress put on me to perform. And I'm feeling a lot of anxiety over that. Mom or dad might give the proverbial eye roll, like, come on, this is what you're worried about. They may not agree with you, but they don't have to agree to at least be there and listen to it and to validate how you're feeling. I could see why you would feel that way, or I didn't even realize that you felt that way. And even if they think it's ridiculous, they're still going to have that in the back of their mind that, maybe I need to uh, be a little softer with how I express what I want, my child to do. Maybe I need to go a little bit easier on him if he's feeling this anxiety, because um, we in this field have had young people who have unalived themselves. And do we really know the exact nature of why? Could it be untreated depression? Could it be tremendous anxiety or stress? Could it be performance issues? Could it be a bully at school? Could it be rejection or a breakup with a boyfriend, girlfriend? Could be all those things put together, Um, but you as a parent, if we've dealt with adults who have lost their child, um, you're going to be traumatized and affected for the rest of your life. So why not, at least, even if you don't agree, give some space and give a little bit of compassion to your child who's sharing what they're feeling or experiencing, even if you don't agree with it.
For sure. And there's so much pressure on teenagers now to perform because you've got to make all the right moves to get into the college you're looking for. They're looking for high GPA, high test scores, plus all the extracurriculars and everything else. And I mean, that's a lot of pressure we put on these kids.
Yeah.
um it's much different than it was for you and I, Tom.
Yeah.
you know me. My first 2 years of high school were not too serious. And then I went, holy crap, I got to go to college. I got to actually do something. So
Right.
then I took AP and brought my grades up, and, but so, you could not get away with that stuff now, but back then you couldn't.
Right.
A lot of pressure.
I mean, and Gen Xers, as we are, and a lot of other Gen Xers out there who are parents, we were like, oh, when we were growing up, our parents, like, we never saw them. We were latchkey kids. We got $3 for lunch. We didn't even have our lunches made for us, and we just had to go figure it out and go do with it. Go deal with it. There wasn't anything like, I didn't know people that had like anxiety or whatever, or that were stressed or depressed or anything like that. You just like dealt with whatever you needed to deal with. Not that that's necessarily right. I mean, I think it is good that we're talking about mental health. So if a Gen X parent is coming from that perspective and their kids talking about, well, you never were there for me and you never listened to me, and you discard my feelings, and the Gen Xers are rolling their eyes at that, like, hey, I never had any of that shit and I turned out fine,
Right.
like it's more serious now
Right.
for whatever reason.
And we
And
see
we need to be open and be compassionate to it.
and we see a lot of the other reaction to it is, we always want, as we grew up, we said we're going to do things so different with our kids, right? So yes, us Gen Xers were ignored and latchkey, and we had to figure it out for ourselves. So there are a bunch of Gen Xers that didn't want their kids to have that experience, so they turned into helicopter parents. So they were all over their kids.
Yeah.
you know weren't there for me, so I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to be your parent and your best friend and your counselor and your this and your that. And we
Right.
see a lot of way involved in their kids' lives. You got to give them some space.
Yeah. And I'm right in the middle, okay? Because I know there's going to be another side of people who potentially are listening to this, or at least who are out there who feel like, well, you know what? We can't coddle them. We can't baby them. They need to shape the hell up. And we don't want to build a culture of like wimps, or, people who are all in touch with their feelings. And, I'm not saying toxic masculinity is the answer. And I'm not saying that coddling them or crafting dependence is the answer. Somewhere in the middle, a nice balance.
Absolutely. Isn't that the story with Lifetime? Is just find that good balance.
Yeah. To find the right dose.
Exactly.
Yep.
Too little ibuprofen is not going to help your headache. Too much ibuprofen is certainly not going to help your headache. It's that right dose, right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's important if we just have open discussions and dialogue about these things, especially in the family. Set up some time, just like you set up the worry time. Set up some time, even if it's just once a week, to get the family together and have a family meeting, if you want to call it that, or you want to call it something else, family fun day or whatever, where you just talk about stuff and then you go do something exciting or fun, or you sit down for dinner and then you go for a walk together, or go out and get ice cream or something. Like, I think it would be healthy for families to sit down and Knights of the Round Table style. Okay, we're putting our roles to the side. We're taking off mom and dad hat, take off kid hat, and let's just talk like human beings to one another, and be there for each other, validate each other, because the kids try to share what's going on, and mom feels like they have to be mom. Dad feels like he's got to fix the situation, and mom feels a certain way or whatever. But take those hats off just for that
Mm.
hour and just be human beings. Try
We
that.
used to we used to do like one night a week, maybe one night every 2 weeks at most. We would do family game night, and we'd play Uno or Monopoly, something. And it was a great time. There were no phones, there was no distractions, there was no getting out of it. That's what we did. And we talked and we learned. It was good. We set that time aside. And we still do that. My kids, when I see my kids, we still play Uno, cards, something. And
Yeah.
it's just a distraction, or it's a vessel for conversation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there looking at each other trying to have a conversation. You're distracted playing a competitive game while you're still having that conversation.
Absolutely.
My my mother did that. My mother, growing up, always had a jigsaw puzzle on the dining room table. And, it was so funny, like looking back at it now, she never worked on that thing unless us kids were around. And like
Yeah.
we'd get home night, and then she'd go in the dining room and turn on the light and start doing the jigsaw puzzle. And it was just an invitation to come in, work on the puzzle, and talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really get to share what's going on, what's on your mind when you're engaging in something else, while you're doing something else. I don't, we do, because I see work with kids and you worked with kids, we do like play kind of therapy, and of all different types. And that's when we actually see the kids like talking, whether you're sitting down doing art with them or playing with Legos, or, I know other therapists have like puppets and whatnot. Sometimes like I have these knot pillows, and we'll just like play with the knot pillows, and kids will put their fists in them, and they'll be you know hitting the couch or pillows or whatnot. Just like something, toys or whatever to kind of play with. And while they're playing around with the stuff, they actually start talking and communicating. And I think it's really important to get down on a young person's level, and physically, mentally, emotionally, and have access to their world and what's going on. I think it's very interesting and insightful as a adult, as a parent, to get in touch and try to speak their language a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's important to have conversations. Everyone has some family dynamics. Everyone's got some stress. The thing is talk about it, right? Well, Tom, I've got a client here in just a second.
Very good. Very good. Always a treat, man. Thank you so much. We're going to be recording this next week on Thursday, and I'll put it out probably Friday again. But thank you guys for being here and listening. Please send in your questions at therapyunzipped.com, and we'll answer them.
All right. Great to see you, Tom, as always. You have a great weekend.
Same.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Peace.